Adam Hunt, Michael Lahoud here in the Golazo Network studio. We had third versus fourth in the Premier League today. A relatively comfortable 3-1 win for Manchester United at Old Trafford over Aston Villa. It was Casemiro, Cunha and Sesko with the goals. And it's 7 wins in 9 games now for Michael Carrick since he took charge. This looks like, although the players are the same, a completely different team than under Amorim.
Yeah, this looks like a Manchester United side that I think United fans can finally be proud of, right? It looks like a United side that United fans are probably used to seeing, where they're being entertained, there's free-flowing football. But the biggest thing that I see with Michael Carrick that I didn't see with Ruben Amorim is he's brought back this winning feeling, right? This winning culture and this winning vibe about the club, and it's contagious. And I played with certain managers who, when you create that environment of trust, when you create that environment of expectations to get results, and really that team philosophy of doing it the United way, anything is possible, and I think Champions League football is very much possible.
It certainly is. And what's interesting as well, under Amorim, there was a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. They'd put in some good performances, win a game, get a good draw, and then they'd follow it up with a poor defeat. With Carrick, I know it's a relatively short amount of time so far, but they've built on each game better and better and better. Even the game they lost against Newcastle, they played pretty well. That's the thing with Carrick. You feel like they're all moving in one direction now.
Yeah, he's really given the players, and Bruno Fernandes mentioned this, where I forgot which match it was. Maybe it was their last home win that they had. They asked him, what's the difference, right? What's changed? And Bruno said, he's given us this trust to go and express ourselves. You see it today on the Cunha goal. It's players interchanging. It's a trust as if I drag a player out wide, you have the freedom to go and express yourself in the final third. But on the flip end, on the reverse side of things, every single player to a man is committed to getting back and defending as a unit. You can go through the roster from player A to player Z, right? From 1 through 11, every single player is playing to the peak of their powers. And one player I want to identify who doesn't show up in the stat sheet, we got to talk about Harry Maguire and the leadership he's provided. But this is a Manchester United side that, for the most part, Adam, they've been consistent in how they've rolled out pretty much the same 11 that we're seeing right here.
Yeah, you mentioned Maguire there, much more solid at the back, also more fearsome going forward. It was a record-breaking day as well for Bruno Fernandes there in midfield. He set a new record, the most assists by a Manchester United player in a single season, overtaking the record that had been set a little while ago by David Beckham back in the 1999-2000 season with 15. So Bruno Fernandes has already got 16. You could get even more than that between now and the end of the season. It has been a fabulous season for him over the course of the whole of it, you know, under Ruben Amorim and now under Michael Carrick. And you do feel like he has become a leader in the dressing room that also leads by example with what he does with the ball at his feet.
I remember there was a couple seasons ago, I don't know if it was the 7-0 or just the hammering and the embarrassing result they had at Anfield, where there were so many people in the media that were saying they need to get rid. They almost got rid of him this summer, right? It makes you think, and I'd hate to cringe just to think about what might have been had Bruno Fernandes not been available for United this season. But I want to take this a step further, right? People talk about who's the best midfielder in the Premier League. Is it Moises Caicedo? Is it Declan Rice? For me, it's not up for debate. Bruno Fernandes is the best midfielder in the Premier League. He's arguably the best midfielder in world football right now. And I think he's 4 shy of Thierry Henry and Kevin De Bruyne's record for single-season Premier League assists. Adam, I think he gets it, and I think he breaks it this season.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. Bruno Fernandes, you sort of expect him to play well, and he was good in many games under Amorim and has been good in many games under Carrick. But there are other players who certainly weren't good under Ruben Amorim and were kind of out of the team. Kobbie Mainoo is a name that jumps to mind for me. And Michael Carrick has really breathed life into this guy now who's getting an opportunity in the starting lineup. And you can take 3 or 4 examples just like him that seem to look like new players under the new manager.
The heart and soul of Manchester United under Michael Carrick has been that midfield 3 of Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo, and Casemiro. I really like, when I watch Kobbie Mainoo, he just seems to be composure personified, right? Composure defined. He has this high footballing IQ that reminds me of what we saw when he first broke through under Erik ten Hag, where he just knows where the ball needs to go. He knows what the game needs and what the game demands. And for a player that I don't know what Ruben Amorim was seeing, I don't know what he was doing, I don't know what he was thinking. For me, he seemed to be a manager who made Manchester United all about him rather than about getting results and about winning and being competitive. When I look at Kobbie Mainoo, I see a player who looks imperious and you think of players who've been dubbed midfielders of the future, right, in Manchester United, midfielders of the future in the Premier League, he is the Manchester United midfield of the present, right? He's a player that I could see being future Manchester United captain with his composure and with this just will to win. And if you're Thomas Tuchel, you have to now start considering maybe giving him a shot to get called up in the March international window. I think, Adam, he's going to be on the doorstep to get that last seat on the plane for England in the World Cup if he continues pushing.
Inarguably one of the most competitive positions in that England team going ahead into the World Cup. Let's have a look at the fixtures that Manchester United have got in the Premier League between now and the end of the season. This is what's to come. They've got 8 more games to go. They're sitting pretty in third at the moment. When you look at these games, do you think that anything less than Champions League football next season would be a disappointment?
It really would, especially given just the confidence we're seeing flowing through the team and the results. And Adam, right now, Manchester United is the most informed team in the Premier League under Michael Carrick. I think they've had a possible of 27 points. They've now taken 22 of 27, which is the most of any club in English football right now. There's a couple trap games I see there. Bournemouth, never an easy place to play. You've been there. You've seen plenty of Premier League clubs fail. I think this is a side that is built to compete against any of these teams, but it's the away games that I see that could be very difficult. We saw United struggle against a West Ham, and it was down to Benjamin Sesko coming off the bench and delivering the hammer blow to get them a result late on. I do expect United to get Champions League football. I think I've seen enough, and I think we've seen enough. The expectation's there. The form is there. Now it's all about the execution.
If that is achieved then, Champions League football for next season, surely Michael Carrick should then get the job full-time, an extended contract.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, he's just pretty much defying all odds, defying the record books in terms of being red hot. And it reminds me so much of the start that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had in this team, right? Had at this club, where his just ability to inspire players to be better than what we saw under previous managers is enough for me to get the job. But it's more than that. Michael Carrick will get this job because he's now bridged a connection from the players, from the locker room, to United fan base. And when we see United fans get after and behind this guy and behind the team, we see the Manchester United that we all know, we all remember, and will be in the Champions League.
Well, we saw 2 sides playing today who are supposedly going for Champions League spots. One's diving towards it with both hands. The other one's kind of pulling away. Aston Villa, a worrying run of form for them. 3 defeats and a draw in their last 4 games. And this looks like a side who is heading in completely the wrong direction.
Yeah, if I'm Unai Emery, I'm a bit worried, right? We were talking about a side that, was it back in December, that they were playing Arsenal for a chance to close the gap and be in the conversation for a title race. I think injuries have really derailed Villa's season. They're not deep enough, and there's been question marks about how deep could they really be, how far could they really go. They could still get in the Champions League through the Europa League. That's ultimately going to be their best bet. I eventually see Aston Villa because I think they've only won 3 out of their last 12 matches now in the Premier League. Momentum's everything at the end of the season. Form is everything. But the display we saw today, it's not good enough to just get a Ross Barkley goal and not get enough from Morgan Rogers. I didn't see enough from him. Ollie Watkins looked lost. Those 2 players, when they're on it, then Villa can talk about Champions League, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Let's put the qualification by winning the Europa League to one side. It does look like, again, we're going to get 5 Champions League spots from the Premier League. One of those teams in the top 6 is going to miss out. Do you think it will be Villa who finishes 6th and doesn't manage to get in the Champions League through that method now next season?
I think ultimately I put my money on Chelsea. I know Chelsea fans, I know you're probably looking to me that I'm crazy, but I think Chelsea have more quality than Villa. And when you look at the run-in going in, once Chelsea get knocked out of the Champions League, that will be their best gift and their best friend to the season. But this is going to be a toss-up. Just like we see in the relegation battle, the Champions League places will go down to the wire, and that's ultimately why we love the Premier League. The most competitive league in the world, the most crazy league in the world in terms of results. And I would just love to see where we are on the final match day, Villa-Chelsea going for the final spot for the Champions League.
Yep, things must improve for Aston Villa, but the Theatre of Dreams, Old Trafford, is becoming a fearsome fortress once again for Manchester United. A 3-1 victory for them in the Premier League over Aston Villa.